What up? Sure, I tried to make a video yesterday and got interrupted with a phone call. I'm gonna have that video up. That video, pretty informative information about my initial journey into where I'm going now. My enlightenment, my self-improvement, my everything. Whatever I'm doing is bigger. It's so big. It's bigger than I've ever thought of. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm thinking bigger. The limited thinking that you have, where you can't close your eyes and even imagine yourself being rich. That's how bad your thinking is. If you can't imagine yourself being rich for like 20 minutes a day, you ain't got it. Or imagine yourself overcoming an issue that you're going through. If you can't do that for 20 minutes, what makes you think you could do it in real life? I just gave you something right there. And that wasn't even a part of the video. This video, I'm gonna talk about how I had anxiety for 6-7 years, damn near. And I'm gonna show you, or I'm gonna tell you, I keep saying I'm gonna show you, what I learned. What positive notes can I take from anxiety? I mean, from your understanding of anxiety, is not positive at all. And you're right, it ain't positive at all to have anxiety. But there's a law of polarity. States everything is both good and bad. So what good did I get from my brain going into anxiety? And if you don't know, I mean, in my video that I'll be putting up, I'll tell you how the anxiety came about. It's gone. It's totally gone now. But I learned from anxiety that these are the positive things I learned from anxiety. So we'll go over that. There's probably some of y'all out here that do have anxiety. What I learned from anxiety is, man, it's crazy. It forced me to start thinking of my inner thoughts. Just me saying that, I didn't know what I was doing. A couple of years ago, I didn't know what was going on. I just felt like I was at the worst state in my life that I possibly could be in. But now that I'm getting better, I can go back and revisit in situations and be like, oh, shoot, I was doing this and didn't realize what I was doing. The anxiety, when I had anxiety, I'd wake up in the morning and immediately my brain was so in tune with my thoughts. And all of my thoughts were negative. All of them. I had a few positive thoughts, but it's like every thought that came up, I came with an emotion attached to it too. And all the negative thoughts, for the most part, that came up start, messing with my head. Only a person that has anxiety would know what I'm talking about. These thoughts come up and your head just start going crazy. Your heart beating all fast. There go that sun again. Your heart beating all fast. You think you're about to have a heart attack or a panic attack. You probably do have a panic attack. And it just drives you insane if you allow it. What kept me sane for the most part was me talking to myself. Having to tell myself, hey, this thought is fake. Listen to this thought you just said to yourself. When did this ever happen? Why are you responding to thoughts that never happened? Me talking to myself, I didn't realize I was going into the moment. What we call mindfulness, when you're being mindful. When you get in the present. I didn't know I was getting in the present to stop my panic attacks and stop my head from flaring up from anxiety. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that that was effective. That was an effective way for me to control my anxiety. Especially when I felt like it was getting too out of hand and I thought that I was gonna have a panic attack or whatever the case was. Being mindful took me out of my head. And I can only speak for myself when it comes to anxiety, because I don't know how other people's anxiety is, but since I overcame it, I can talk about it. There was a point in time I could not talk about it. If I start talking about it, I'd start having an anxiety attack immediately talking about it. It was that strong. Here I am freely talking about it right now. No anxiety attack. No nothing. My anxiety caused me to filter out my thoughts. It started getting to a point where I was able to start to control it. It was still buck wild, don't get me wrong, but I got to a point where I was starting to control my thoughts. And that's when I started asking my question, what can I do to control my thoughts better? Because I saw it was the thoughts that were attached to the emotions that were causing the panic attacks and the sweating and the mind blocks and everything. Man, I've witnessed, my anxiety made me not be able to learn shit. I couldn't learn nothing. I couldn't pick up a book and read. I couldn't even enjoy a video game. I couldn't enjoy a nap. I could not enjoy going to work. It made me super duper uncomfortable living. Now, some people would have took that and killed themselves. I didn't. I kept fighting it. I kept trying to figure out, why do I have this? Why is it here? Why, like, what's up with this? And a lot of it had to do with the ruling state of minds that I was in at those times, trying to control everything and wanting to have a certain life, but it wasn't there, and being frustrated with it, or being in a relationship and having a idea of how a relationship is, and this relationship is the complete opposite, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I can't blame the people around me, the outside sources. No, it was the inside. It was me. Remember, everything that happens in your life is your fault. So if somebody comes in your life and so-called rips it to shreds, that just means you have a weakness inside of you that you need to fix. Of course, yes, they didn't have to do it, but they did do it. And since they did do it, only thing you can do when somebody does something to you is either react to it or respond. Reaction is subconscious triggers. You don't want to react to nothing, because for the most part, you're going to react wrong every time. You're going to keep reacting wrong until you get anxiety, especially when your story doesn't match up with the reality that you're in. That's why I had anxiety. My story in my head did not match up with my reality, and it was driving me insane inside. That's where my anxiety came from. I knew that I was destined to be great, and I wasn't getting there. I felt stuck with and there was so much avenues and areas that I was stuck at, and I was so much not in control that it caused anxiety. And the anxiety was from the time I woke up in the morning. I gave me about a 15-minute break, and then the anxiety kicked right in at high gear. And then going to bed at night was very hard to do. And it took me a while to go to bed, but when I was asleep, my anxiety was cool. It was when I was awake, on a scale 1 to 10, my anxiety for 6 years straight was at 9.5. It even threw some depression in there. It was because my story wasn't matched up with my reality. I realize that now. So now we go to January of 2018. I'm out of the relationship that I was in. I'm on my own. No distractions, nothing. I made a decision. Either I'm going to live like this for the rest of my life, or I'm going to change my reality to match up with my story. Of course, I made the decision to change my story. Since I made that one, and like I said, that's why I say, when you make a decision, don't worry about how you're going to get to where you need to go. You'll worry about that later on. That's why I'm on YouTube right now. I wanted to be on YouTube 5 years ago. What was stopping me? Ain't nothing stopping me now. Why don't I have the energy I have now to make YouTube videos that 5 years ago? Who knows? Well, I know, but it's crazy, man. When you reflect, I'm self-reflecting right now. Self-reflecting is very important. So I made that decision, and I started going in a direction. I started seeking coaching, seeking anything I can to get my hands on books and everything. And I start soaking the information up, and I use my willpower and my belief and my focus and drive to get to where I need to be. At first I did it physically. Got my body down to 177. Then I started working on getting my wardrobe and, stuff that I wanted together. I started reading incredible books that I talk about I talk about those books on the video I'm gonna put up. Incredible books that really changed my whole life. Shouts out to Wayne Dyer. Dr. Wayne Dyer makes incredible spiritual books. Incredible, man. And if you don't know who Wayne Dyer is, look him up, man. That dude changed my life. I wouldn't even be on YouTube right now if it wasn't for Wayne Dyer's guidance in his books. And I'm a truck driver. Instead of listening to this horrendous music that's on the radio, that's doing nothing but stagnating you and keeping you in the same spot every day, I start listening to Wayne Dyer lectures, Bob Proctor lectures, Tony Robbins lectures, and I started listening to them a year ago. I remember my first video was You Were Born Rich seminar, I think, the You Were Born Rich seminar by Bob Proctor. That was my first video I watched, and from there it clicked something in me. And I've been listening to motivational videos ever since, instead of listening to music. Don't listen to music like that. I'm not kicking music to the side or nothing, but my mental health was more important than finances. It was more important than my physical appearance. It was more important than anything that I can think of, because I lacked the mental health that I needed for so long that it caused the anxiety. So I never want to go to that state of mind again where I have depression or anxiety or have these crazy habitual thoughts that attached to emotions that were flaring up my head. I don't want to deal with that no more. Another thing I learned from having anxiety is I learned about energy. I sat and watched certain parts of my head, your central nervous system shoot all the energy this way, or shoot all the energy this way, or shoot the energy this way. And then it took a conscious effort to do everything, because subconsciously my brain, my central nervous system was going haywire. So it took a lot of willpower to do stuff because I was so engulfed in this anxiety. So for me to just get in the car, turn the keys, and start driving took willpower to do that, because my brain would not allow me to do nothing but surface these thoughts, these bad thoughts that I got from anxiety. So a lot of my willpower was developed in those 6 years. A lot of drive to get my life together was developed in that 6 years. Stuff that I kept, I kept this willpower. I kept that drive. I kept consistency. I had to consistently keep willpower up, and I had to keep a blockage up so I wouldn't have an anxiety attack. I couldn't even be in a car by myself without an anxiety attack. And one of the bad copings that I did was from binge eating and stress eating and smoking packs on packs and packs of cigarettes. That kept me coping and kept my anxiety from attacks from happening. If I felt an anxiety attack happen, or a panic attack, whatever you want to call it, a cigarette would take it away. But what I did not notice was when the anxiety pressure got so strong, I couldn't breathe. I started to realize that when the pressure got too much, I couldn't breathe. What do you do when you smoke a cigarette? You take a deep breath. and blow. So you telling me that whole time, this is what I was telling myself, this whole time all I need to do is take deep breaths. And think about eating. When you eat, it stretches your diaphragm. When your diaphragm stretches, you can breathe easier. That's crazy. So that's why I got addicted to cigarettes and eating and e-cigarettes. All that stuff was to cope with a problem that all I had to do is face it. But see, back then, I was thinking like everybody thinks. Everybody thinks outwardly, outside stuff. Oh, if I change my outside, I'll get results. No, sir. Maybe there's exceptions to the rules, especially when it comes to psychiatry. There is exceptions to the rules. But I realized a year ago from reading Dr. Wayne Dyer's books, reading Bob Proctor's book, and just listening to lectures and collecting ideas that in order to change your outside world, the inside world has to be changed already. You want $100,000 a year, there's nothing you can do on your outside world to do that if your inside world ain't in line with your outside world. So meaning I could go get a $100,000 an hour job right now. My brain will self-sabotage that job, and I'll go back to my 20K or 30K or whatever you make in a year. And you know this because you've had this happen. I hear the stories. Oh man, I used to make a lot of money. Now you back to normal life. You couldn't keep up with and maintain that because you didn't work on your inside, the inside world. That's why I said mental health is the most important thing. More important than money, more important than everything. We ain't got to go in and elaborate. So I learned all of this stuff about the mind during my anxiety days. From 21 to daggone 28. All of my 20s, I suffered from anxiety. That's crazy. But like I said, I learned a lot from it. And there's people out there that have anxiety. I can help coach them out of their anxiety. Because now I know exactly what causes anxiety. I know exactly what causes depression. It ain't an outside thing. It's an inside thing. It's never going to be an outside thing. Stop. Just stop it now. Stop thinking that it's some outside source or somebody's doing something to you. You're doing something to yourself. And I've gotten so good with this stuff that 5 or 10 minutes of being around people, I can tell what they're lacking. That's killing the game. I can tell what people are lacking, what they're lacking in their life. And that's not to, bash them or nothing. If you're lacking something, me as a person, I want the best for my friends. I want the best for my clients, the people that I talk to. I want the best for them. And you should want the best for yourself too. That's why I stay on people the way I stay on people. The people that are in my life, that sometimes they get annoyed of me. It's not me that you're annoyed of. It's yourself. You're annoyed of yourself. It's never an outside thing. It's always an inside thing. You set up a program in your brain to get annoyed by people that's trying to help you. You did that.